Hi, this is DJ Kenj from Kenj Audio. Welcome to I Want to Be a DJ. As you can tell, I'm coming to you from an alternate location. However, I have some very important information I need to share with you. On my last video, I talked about controllers and I made a recommendation for you to purchase a used controller to start with. But there's some information that I came across this week that has prompted me to kind of backtrack and tell you about something that you need to be on the lookout for. And this is what is called class compliant. Now I'm going to have a short version of this story and tell you about what I came across and what you need to look for when you're purchasing a used DJ controller. However, if you are interested in recording music or recording anything where you need an audio interface and you've been searching for audio interfaces on the market and you're trying to find out which one would be the best one to purchase, and you may be looking at a used one because they have gotten expensive. Stick around for the long version of the story because I'm going to explain something that will be important to you in that choice that you plan to make. Now for the short version. Windows and Mac around 2016 decided that all USB audio and MIDI devices needed to be what they call class compliant. Class compliant means that your audio and MIDI USB devices needed to be plug and play and use either the Mac core audio driver, or I think Windows driver is still called ACO driver. I'd have to look that up. But anyway, class compliant means that you buy a unit, you plug it in, and it works because it uses standard drivers on whatever machine it is you're using. That's what class compliant means. Your DJ controller is a USB audio and MIDI device. Your DJ controller is a USB audio and MIDI device because it takes sound from the computer into the controller. Your controller acts as an external sound card and it sends it out through the outputs to you, and you hook your mixer or your speakers up to it. It's a MIDI device as well because the software is controlled by the controller via MIDI commands. So your controller acts as both. And if you're purchasing a controller, you want to make sure that it is what they call class compliant, meaning it's plug and play. And as I'm talking to you, I'm going to show you some screenshots, and I have them up now, some screen recordings of how you can find out if a controller you're interested in is class compliant. Now, if it's a controller that was made after 2016, it's definitely class compliant. Anything prior to may not be. So what you want to do is go to the manufacturer's website, and in most cases you can go to the support page and they will have a compatibility chart to let you know which controllers are what they call class compliant. And you also want to check your software that you plan to use and make sure that it has support for the controllers, or your controller that you plan to purchase is supported by the software. If you do these two things, it will ensure that the controller that you're planning to pick is what they call class compliant, and it will work with either your Mac OS that you have or your Windows computer that you plan to use for DJing. Now, these lists are not all comprehensive, and I found that out when I went to Newmark's website because the Mixtrack Pro that I have at home and my Newmark N4, neither of those are on the list for class compliant controllers. However, they work with Mojave because I use them on a day-to-day basis. So the list may not include every controller. However, since I've made a recommendation for you to purchase a used controller, I would like to tell you to make sure that you get one that is on the class compliant list so that you don't have any issues. Otherwise, you may wind up with a controller that is a useless brick. So that's the short story. Now, if you plan on buying an audio interface because you want to start a home recording studio, you want to just do some voice recording, or for some reason, for some other purpose, you've determined that you need an audio interface, stick around for this long version of the story because I have something very interesting to tell you. So, this is what happened this week. I decided I wanted to buy another audio interface, and I didn't check to make sure it was class compliant because I had not even realized that the market went to what they called having class compliant hardware. And the reason I didn't realize it is because I haven't had an audio interface in some years, but it made me think back to when all of this started. So around 2015, I had a Mac Mini. I bought a Tascam audio interface on Guitar Center's Stupid Deal of the Day. Got a great deal on it, and I was happy. All of a sudden, when Mac came out with El Capitan, my audio interface stopped working. Didn't know why. Did a lot of research because I'm the type of person I don't give up on things easy. So I did a lot of research and finally wound up calling Tascam. When I called Tascam, they told me, "Oh, you need to buy another interface." It's like, what? They didn't tell me why, but I said, okay. But I didn't buy another Tascam. I wound up getting a PreSonus AudioBox i1. It was designed for a tablet, designed to work with the iPad, which is something else I'm going to tell you that's interesting about this. A couple of months later, my Pro Tools software stopped working. Didn't know why. Did a lot of research. Finally, after about a week or two, someone had found a workaround. And that workaround was to go into a specific folder for Pro Tools and take out their aggregated driver. Now, if you've had any experience with Pro Tools or Adobe or any other professional software packages designed for doing audio, video, you know that they use their own aggregated drivers. This was interfering with the process of Pro Tools starting up and running after the El Capitan update. So I took the driver out of the folder, it came up and it ran fine. But I never investigated what was going on at that time. That's when this switch was being made from audio interfaces using their own drivers to being what they call plug and play or class compliant, and being able to use the core audio drivers from Apple or Windows ACO drivers. Now, as I've looked on the market, and I'm running some screenshots in the background as you see to show you how to get to manufacturers' compatibility pages. And that's what you want to do when you're choosing an audio interface. You want to go to the compatibility page, especially if you're buying a used audio interface. You want to go to the compatibility page and make sure that it's compatible with your latest Windows or Mac operating system. So fast forward to the problem I had this week, and this is what made me research everything and prompted me to record this video. I bought another interface after not having one for years because I have some recording I need to do. And got it. It's a used interface, found a great deal. And in the back of my mind, before it got there, I was thinking, man, you know what? I probably should have checked to make sure that the manufacturer still supports this interface. I didn't. Got the interface, plugged it in, didn't show up. So in my mind, I'm like, oh wow. Went to the manufacturer's website, which is M-Audio. Didn't find the audio interface on their website. So now I'm like, oh wow, twice. Did a bunch of research, finally found out that this interface was one of the interfaces that Avid still maintained control of, because I didn't know that Avid had sold M Audio. So I said, okay, go to Avid's website, look at the interface, look up the software support. Okay, maybe I just need to get an updated driver. And that's when I noticed that the last driver update they did was in 2015, and they had a note on it saying that that device would no longer be receiving any updates and that it wouldn't be supported in El Capitan. So now I'm wowing 3 times, because now I have an interface that is not going to work. And I tried everything. I tried all kind of workarounds to get it to work, but it just did not work. And that's when I did the research and found out that they had gone to this class compliant requirement for USB audio and MIDI interfaces. So as I said, if you're searching for an interface, if you find one that you think you like, before you buy it, make sure that you check the manufacturer's website. And I'm kind of glad that this happened, because I needed a playback controller to control my main stage, because I'm going to be using main stage to run some backing tracks for a band that I do sound for. I found what was called a Korg Nano Control, and it's a very good price point on it. Even new, it only cost around $60. And it's a nice little piece to have if you plan on using main stage, because I've mixed and I'm going to be running backing tracks for this live band. And so I wanted something that had 8 or 9 faders on it, which would be plenty, and a transport control, mute buttons, and this had all of it. But I found one used on Craigslist for $20. So I said, okay, that looks like a good deal. So I contacted the person, and I was supposed to meet the person. But because this happened with this audio interface, it prompted me to look on Korg's website, because this controller that I was going to get was a used one, and it was the original model. They've had an updated model come out, but this was the first version. So it prompted me to look on their website before I met this individual from Craigslist to purchase this controller, and I found out that it wasn't supported. So that saved me some money, because the chances of me buying that control from that individual and then getting my money back were none and none. Not slim to none, none and none, because if you buy something from somebody on Craigslist, if anything goes wrong with it, you're probably not going to get your money back. And that's another reason why you have to be careful when you're purchasing audio equipment, and make sure that you check the versions of what you're buying, make sure it's compatible, make sure it's compatible with your software, because you don't want to spend money on something that's going to turn into a brick. And then you can't do anything with it, because now you have to try to find someone else that doesn't know any better to sell it to. And that's just dishonest. And that's not the type of person I am. And I hope that that's not the type of person that you are, is to do something dishonest like that. So that's my spiel on audio interfaces and class compliant. If you have any additional questions, make sure that you leave a comment. Make sure also that you subscribe to my channel, so that as I come out with new videos, you'll be alerted. As I promised you on my last video before this one, we will talk about speakers next, and it's going to be a very good video, a video that you don't want to miss.